Thank you guys so much for coming. The first thing I think I want to say is really thank you that you serve here at the church at Rocky Peak. I mean, with your passion for music, with your passion for the Lord, we love partnering with you, and we really don't get to do what we do without your support. So thank you so much. What tonight is going to be about, we're just going to have like a clarifying conversation about the Christian contemporary music style, right? And we're just going to call that CCM. It's such a mouthful to say that other thing. So that's what this is about. We have expectations and visions for all of the roles, all the band members. We're going to slightly go through the overall theme for like everyone here. But we're going to really zoom into the keyboard role here at Rocky Peak. So what we'll also do is define what it, like there's an expectation. You guys get your songs from Planning Center, and we say, hey, play like the record. So we're going to define what that is like. But if you look in that first page of this packet, it says vision and expectations. On the third paragraph, it says this. As a unified team, we prepare with precision and anticipate flexibility to serve our church effectively. So what that means is, well, you prepare, right? Like what the original song is on the track with the original parts as best as you can. And obviously, when we come here, things change. The arrangements change, the dynamics and all that stuff change. So we're open and flexible for what those changes are based on what the worship leader is like sensing. And then continuing on, it says, learning and growing in our understanding of each song's form, chords, and dynamics so we can perform our parts with confidence. And the thing, this expectation is for everyone, right? Like, the drummer needs to know chords, or like, yeah, like we're all going to digest this music and pursue it together. So we're going to pursue the tone. We're going to pursue what are musical tropes. What's a better way of saying that? Like motifs or like reoccurring themes of this genre. So that way, when we come play together, first of all, we're locking in as musicians. But second of all, whenever we want to we'll create in collaboration, but it will be appropriately in this style. And we'll skip the next sentence. All it says, use Planning Center and playback as resources, to kind of help you achieve this. So if we go on to the second page of this packet, it says what it means to play like the record, right? So, and for this, we're just going to read a little bit down through this thing. So this means come prepared to rehearsal, knowing the songs as arranged in the official reference track provided through Planning Center and playback. Sometimes Planning Center has this like pitch correction, and you're like, oh, like blessed be the name. That's not a song we do, but the pitch correction is either too high or it's too low. So sometimes we'll be like, let me pull up a song from Spotify or from YouTube or from Apple Music, and it might be a completely different arrangement, right? So you want to use a song on Planning Center, and what we're going to do as a staff team, we provide resources for that. We want to also connect that with playback. So when you listen through playback, it's the same arrangement, same key. Sometimes it's not it's not available that way, and we'll let you know. But Planning Center is the home base of the arrangement that you're going to be listening to. And then the second thing, what it means to play like the record, is having mastered dynamics and tones to ensure a unified CCM style across all worship services. So this idea of mastering dynamics and tone, it really puts a lot of expectation on what your role is going to be. It's like, well, how do I get the piano to sound that way, or what's it doing with like the synth parts? It's a lot of consideration on executing what you're hearing sonically of the piano, and we kind of help demystify that here by like, oh, here's this Nord, or here are the patches that you play, because we want to help support you in executing that, and also like, you guys aren't doing this 8 hours a day every day, so we kind of want to help support that. But what this doesn't mean is like everyone's gonna, oh, now I gotta play like that track the whole way through. I'm gonna solo it on playback and just play it that way. Like I have to be a robot. It doesn't mean you're gonna be a robot, and it doesn't mean you can't be creative. Those things are gonna come, like creativity is gonna come, and also like being free to play inside the style is going to come by learning the style intimately, like soloing the keys or learning whatever about like workshops online for this style. Um, it's going to just like build your library of one of the drummers said this yesterday and I thought it was great. It's like, yeah, you're building your library of what you're playing and how you're playing because it translates to all the other songs really. So again, it doesn't mean you're gonna be a robot or you're not gonna be get to be creative because the ultimate goal says this is unity. So in order to achieve unity, we need to do three things: commit to the overall vision. And what that overall vision is, hey, we're pursuing this style, and like we're gonna keep each other accountable in that pursuit, and we're gonna give you resources to do that. And then the second thing is this: it's deliver on our role. And I just want to read this. It says, unity comes with trusting each member to prepare and perform their role. Lack of skill, preparation, or memorization creates disunity, forcing adjustments that break trust. And I think that's like really heavy language. But, we're all practicing growing in skill. And we are all really trying to prepare for when we come together to execute these songs confidently from section to section, right? So we're all on that journey on different pages, but we are expecting your role to deliver on knowing the style and knowing the way to play things. And then this leads to the last thing: collaborating together, not as individuals, right? So I'll read this a little bit more. It says, what we are doing is not a solo sport, it's a team sport. It is vital that when we choose to create, we are doing this in partnership with one another, not to simply improve or modify our individual section. When we choose to create apart from the whole project, it creates frustration and breaks down trust between sections. I mean, this happens like if you have a drummer who comes in and kind of knows the tune and they play it differently. Well, the bass player has to figure out how to play that differently, and then you're playing keys on your left hand, you're like covering the bass and you're just kind of like, wait, what are they doing? Like, how do I match that? So it changes the way you play, especially if it's like a lead guitar player's playing the completely wrong like melodic line where you're like, yeah, oh, it's coming up, but wait, they're not playing what they're supposed to play. Now I have to play something completely different. It's about bringing unity. So when we do have those moments to collaborate, we can execute that together as a band. And it breaks down that process is the last thing here. So we begin with a shared vision. Like, hey, we're going to learn the reference track. We're going to learn this style. This creates chemistry since everyone has this expectation to learn the track and to come prepared that way. We're going to lock in and gel sooner, quicker than later. Because you guys know we don't play with the same bands all the time. You don't have the same drummer, the same lead guitarist or whatever. So having that reference is going to really build that chemistry. And this leads to the gift of time. I mean, if a drummer doesn't know their part or if a lead guitar player doesn't know their part, we have to like be like, oh, let's play that again, or kind of let's put some time for you to learn this. So it eats up our time, which sometimes that needs to happen. But when we come prepared, we gain time, and then this does the last thing. It says enable creativity. So the gift of time leads us to more opportunity for creativity. So learning the parts, dynamics, feel, and tone on an intimate level will allow for creativity, improvisation, collaboration closer to the parts, dynamics, feel, and tone of the song, right? So if I can just summarize all that, it's like learn the style by learning the track. You're going to build the library. It's going to become intimate. It's going to become part of you. And when you want to be creative, create in collaboration so that way your band knows what to expect because you're building chemistry. And the final note says these can't go out of order. We don't have the time or trust for creativity if we don't build a strong foundation. Creative liberty will come as a result of learning the songs beat for beat, fill for fill, and will develop and ensure that our suggestions fit within the style. So, that's kind of the vision and the theme for tonight. But if we go back to the first page, this is really we're going to spend the most of our bulk. time here. So let's go to the keyboard section. Everyone has like, hey, here's a description of your role. But we're going to go through the keyboard slowly, defining each sentence. And this is the first sentence for the keyboard. It says, "You are the foundation for generating the worship atmosphere." So what does this mean? As like I'm more of like a music director, music producer, creator, instead of like a piano player. You have an amazing composer, amazing pianist here who are going to help kind of teach us to be in this style. But, defining what the worship atmosphere is like, really, it's like the pad. It's like every worship song you hear that starts, it's the pad, right? Let me just like, what a beautiful name. How does that start?
1,
Oops.
2, verse.
Oh, there's the pad.
1, 2.
This pad's quiet coming later. I was wrong about that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Like, there's always the pad. It's also muted, my bad. The pad's always happening, right? So what that is like the 1-5 in the key of C. Is that C?
I'm in D. Do you want me in C?
No, you can be in D. That's fine, right? So it's this like sound that's always rolling. 1-5. It's always rolling. This is the sound through the beginning of the worship song to the end. So we're really considering, what are we adding to this sound? What are we adding to this ambience and to this space? And it's usually diatonic, meaning we're going to be in the major key from the beginning to the end of the song. And it's really rare that we will break outside of that major key. Sometimes we do it in collaborations, but again, it's like very rare. And the principle of this is because the voice is the leader. I mean, we're here coming to like serve our church, but we're singing worship songs to God. So we want that open space for our worship leader and for our congregation to like sing together. Is there anything you guys would add to kind of what that is?
I mean, I think the space thing, as a keyboard player, we have a lot of dynamic that's in front of us that we can control. And I think when I think of the space, for me, musically, space translates to dynamic, right? And we can create a really, really open, big space that is really quiet and intimate in worship. And we can create a really big, open, wide space that's really massive and big in worship. And we have the control as a keyboard player to sort of create all of the space between that really quiet, intimate moment and all of that really big, wide width as well.
Yeah. So really simple. We generate that atmosphere. I mean, it's not executed simply. It's just the way it's phrased. It's like really simply. So then the next expectation is this, and we're gonna break it down in 3 ways because I think it might be a run-on sentence. I don't know grammar very well, but it says this: you replicate prominent piano and synth parts, provide strong chordal support for vocalists, and when requested, double lead guitar lines to add depth. Right. We're going to go through that first one because I feel like this is huge. So 1, you replicate prominent piano synth parts. Like, what does this mean? I mean, I feel like it's like self-explanatory, but what would you say?
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, again, obviously, if you're listening to the track online, if there's a piano part that's on the track online, we're going to replicate that. What a beautiful name. We all know it. It's my favorite, right? We're going to replicate that when that section comes. But I think that there is a tendency with a lot of worship music, especially in the final mixes that are exported and then put on to Spotify or whatever. A lot of times they're doing production, which is going to feature synth tracks that are going to be the most prominent. Or they're going to give you tracks where the piano is really, really sort of off in the background and almost maybe not even audible. And so for me, that translates to, well, when a synth part is audible, you were using the example earlier, Awake My Soul, which is, if we were to play it exactly like the track with the exact tone, it's almost like a harpsichord synth sounding thing, which we can somewhat replicate, but it wouldn't sound that good within the context of this space. But what does sound good is us replicating that on piano. So we just would play that part opposed to just playing a harpsichord part, playing that, right? So that's what, to me, replicating sort of the synth and guitar parts would look like.
Yeah. You have anything to add to that, Yeshwin, or any thoughts? Yeah. It's like pretty self-explanatory. You know, whatever you hear is the most prominent piano part, you want to replicate that. I mean, people expect that. You think about like whatever your favorite song is on a lead guitar or keyboard or drum fill. If it's not played, you're kind of like, what? You know, it's like that thing is missing. I'm expecting that. So you want to cover that on your roll. And then the second thing in this, it says provide strong chordal support for vocalists. And I think this is crazy important for us here at Rocky Peak because like when you hear the record, there's a bunch of synth tracks going on, you know, and when in the house, we're not blasting the synths, we're not blasting the percussions, we're more of a piano sort of led congregation, right? So the piano leads that. So how would you kind of, you know, like process that or explain that at this point? So like you provide strong chordal support for vocalists, Yushun.
The chord, I mean, we need to play more than just the 1 and 5 because, like, the guitar is doing the melody or picking, and there's the bass. You know, they don't really provide the chords, so it's on the keyboard. So let's say if it's a C, if I do this, you know, it's not really. It's like all in the chord, but not quite enough. So a lot of times I need to add some more notes. Let's say left hand, I need to add one more note, at least one more, instead of just one. Sometimes I need to do octaves, and especially the right hand, like the root position is really not cutting through. We need like the second, or sometimes once in a while you need to go back to the
right.
But yeah, or you know, in the C, you C chord, you add that B,
Right.
so you can really provide a little bit more of the chordal support.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll break down some of those like chord flavors for sure. But like, what about you? What do you think when it comes?
Yeah,
to
so I love the piece that Yeshwin's bringing up about dissonance, which is the word that we're all kind of discussing, like that dissonance to create like a flavor in the chord. We're gonna get to that in a minute. But for me, chordal support for vocals within worship can be achieved in different ways. So I believe when you're looking at a song, there's different types of opportunities that you have within the framework of where you are in the song to provide that chordal support. So using What a Beautiful Name's first chorus versus using What a Beautiful Name's second chorus. The first chorus, what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do everything without effects and stuff on first, but I'm going to open up my voicings a bit, and I'm going to just play whole notes, right? So what a beautiful name it is, the name of, right? I'm providing that space, but I'm not playing lines that are going to be counteracting the melody or going against the melody because I'm trying to literally support the singer who's singing. The second time through the chorus, though, I'm going to kind of look back at that first part where it talks about replicating prominent piano and synth parts. In this example, which we're going to get to in a little bit, but I'm going to actually double the lead guitar line, and my repeated chorus is going to sound a little bit more like this. But what I want to point out is, even though I'm doubling it now, the lead guitar line on my right hand, my voicings are still really wide and taking up a lot of space. And in smaller moments of the songs, like verse 1, I Speak Jesus, right? I just want to speak the name of Jesus. If a singer is singing, a lot of times, like, I don't even need to do very much at all other than just hold a chord. But I might feel that having octaves in my left hand which I often will do for choruses to create sort of a bigger feel dynamically, I might drop that all together. I might throw on like a nice reverb sound and just let the space speak for itself. So, I just want to speak in the name of Jesus. That's it, right? Because I am not in the way at all right now. And I'm playing block chords, right? But that creates enough of sort of a support level, bass level, where a singer can sing over that. I'm not feeling like I'm in the way, and I have a way to kind of build upon that as the song progresses, which we can talk about later.
Can I add something to that one?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like usually in the beginning of the song, a lot of times we need to do that whole note, and Garrett was playing the a little bit more on the lower side. That's really important. A lot of times if it's just here, it's really not enough of that chord support. They need like something lower.
Right.
Because that at that time bass is not playing, nobody
Right.
else is playing. It's just the keyboard. So that is you need to do that da, 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 instead of.
Yeah, I would say, just, I'm like the most beginner piano player here for sure. And when there's no one available, I'll play on the worship up here, But like, yeah, I won't use the tech like Garrett does. But I kind of have that same thing in mind of like, okay, I'm listening to the dynamic of the song, but what is the range asking for? And a lot of the range of this style is like mid-range, like low mid and maybe some highs, and you get to the highs like later on in the song when there's more like melodic information and more dynamic going on, but like the middle is really your home base. And it's so funny, like when I think chordal support, and I like the way Garrett is like saying chordal support is like having this open space, but how I kind of do that myself is like by adding like just a tiny bit more rhythm. So I just want to speak the name of Jesus over every heart and every mind. Like, just adding like a little bit more rhythmic. Just because for I think it's a matter of like my playing. It's like I'm trying to I don't want to add more, but I'm trying to like to support the voice, just like I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think it depends on your vocalist you're working with too.
Right.
Like, I think that overall, like if you have a vocalist who's really strong, let's say it's like Sarah Bush or Lauren Laporta, somebody who's like singing on weekends, like you can allow that space and you don't need to kind of take almost like a role that's kind of leading them or giving them assurances of like, hey, here's where we are in the song. But there is a little bit of a safety net that we play as keyboardists, right? Especially if we're working in student ministries or in a situation where like we're with someone who's maybe it's their first time singing the song. Yeah. I totally agree. Like in those instances, like giving a little bit of rhythm, just a little something. Like that's gonna give them a lot more sort of security of where they are in the song. But it does take away one more element you have in your dynamic arsenal that you now can't introduce later. So I'm a big pusher. You'll hear me talk about this a lot. That space in worship, the most space you can provide, the smaller you can make your smalls, will only make the biggers that much more grandiose and bigger. So it's not uncommon for me in certain situations if we're reprising like a verse in I Speak the Name of Jesus or any of these songs where I might, if I have a confident enough singer, I might decide, hey, I just add a different kind of color to it instead of going back to, safety middle. And, by the way, I'm using this piece of tech. I'll talk about it later, but the Nords have reverb too on it. But I might decide like, hey, when we reprise this, my support is going to be a dynamic choice to say, hey, you know what? Like, this singer can sing pretty confidently. They're staying on click. Like, I've made the decision. I'm going to just create a little bit more of a dynamic, and maybe I'm going to do something like this. I just want to speak the name of Jesus, right? And just leave it, right? because what that's going to be allowing me to do, it's all about anticipation, right? When we're playing worship keys, we have this awesome power where the entire dynamic of what a lead guitar player can do, a bass player can bring in, drums can bring in, vocals, we represent all of the range.
Right.
So we're creating this ability to like create this really satisfying sort of, to like compare it to EDM music, like a drop, you know? Right. But like if we're up here, here's a reprise, and we come back, give me Jesus. Like when we land there, it's like, oh man, like right. We've arrived. But anyway, kind of going off a little bit on a different rabbit hole,
yeah.
But that is something I would encourage, is like the more you can be really dynamic and savvy of where you are, you're going to be taking a really big role in sort of establishing what the ground floor is dynamically with your worship bands.
Yeah, and just to like add on to like my lack of doing that as like a beginning player, like I add dynamic. Oh, so if this is, I just want to speak the name, my chorus, your name is power, your name is healing. Like now I'm just like, I just added more to that, you know, because I'm actually like, I am considering my dynamic range, but in order to grow that, it's like really considering like the space that you're providing as like a keyboard player. I mean, I'm learning so much just like
yeah, and it's okay to like also recognize like, hey, I'm not there yet. You know, like I'm not feeling comfortable like getting really wide on this keyboard yet. I'm still trying to even get confident with my chord progressions or my voice leading, which is something we're going to talk about in a second too. But
yeah.
But like what is most important is recognizing that and then saying, hey, you know what? Okay, I am not confident enough yet to be, you know, really big and huge in that type of a way. But you are confident enough to play whole notes.
Right.
And I think that if you know that like, hey, you know what, I can at least provide a smaller dynamic in this way, because I know my biggest dynamic is going to just be what you just said, Ray, like just pedaling through chords. That's going to be my biggest dynamic. No problem. Like start from a place where maybe you include less notes and
right.
whole notes as a starting point. Maybe it's a root and a third and a fifth, you know? You know, I don't know. Everyone's a little bit different from
right.
a starting point, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that for me, it's just like the worship leader, like playing the acoustic guitar, like at 100%, you know, that's what they do, I guess.
That's what they do.
Yeah, so I like really.
It's a good thing
really
it's never in the mix.
So. Right. So like really rethinking that approach.
Shots fired.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We really need to work on that. But just to kind of, you know, I think like from my learning, some common, like a rule I would say, are like some common sort of voicings and like modern voicings that this like style has to offer. And you were just kind of playing through them like really, really quickly. Like I want to slow down to define those a little bit. I'll let you do that in a second. But just like, I think that what's important in this is that like Garrett was saying like, you know, you can kind of be more open, you know, here or there, but like being in the middle range, using both hands mostly, and not like not single handing like chords, you really need that bass, which is exactly what you guys are saying. So you're either doing 1/5, like breaking this down like 1/5, or you're doing an octave. Well, that's probably too low or whatever. You know, so it kind of depends. So your left hand is a lot stronger than like smaller. And then just talking about like those common voicings, I would say that you kind of just like really went through because you're amazing.
Go on.
Well, I think that dynamically, like when you just play, you didn't add more of the notes that's outside the chord, but still
right.
You create that dynamic. But there's another way to create that fullness, is to add the notes that's outside the chord, but still in the scale, right? So like a lot of times the second and the seventh note. So if it were doing, I speak Jesus, right? So we start with this, a second note. It's a da 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 da. This will feel like a little too weak for me. louder, but it sounds fuller.
Right.
And then, so next one will be the F minor, but then I would add,
Right. Right.
you can add, you have this B, I have the E there, or you can add the G sharp there. So
Right,
it's
right.
just making it, but you can start with like they say the verse repeats 2 times. So the first time you can make it a little less, like, and the second time you would do,
Nice. Right.
yeah. So just plan your voicing,
Right.
so it just gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, so just to like, I guess break that down is like, especially like whatever, going to school, I did learn some classical piano. It's less like Bach, the way you're playing. It's less 1, 3, 5 on whatever chord you are, right? That like regular voicing. And even when you're voice leading to inversions, it's still not that sort of same sound, you know. The sound is more modern by having like a sustained chord is what you're playing. So like, Garrett, do you mind playing that? So on the top, so play like an A with A sus2 or whatever.
Okay, how about this?
Yeah, exactly. So like that's an example, or like A sus4. You can, like, if
Let's go to-
you can pop off, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go like back to. Let's go to like key of C. So if you're like a novice, right, and you're like, I know that the white keys are all the right keys in the
Right.
key of C, right? So like if we do a minor 6, right? So I'm gonna play A minor, right? That's my minor 6 chord. I can add a 7th. Here's your 1-5 again over A minor. Minor 7th chord, right? And then occasionally you might have, if we're in the key of C again, the major 7th. But you're never going to hear it like that. You're usually going to hear it like this. It's almost like a passing tone of sorts.
Right.
That's usually how you're going to hear it. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that most worship, Bethel worship, elevation worship, keyboard players, they're extremely talented, but they are generally writing these songs most of the time for pianists in congregational settings, and they are writing them with, in my opinion, at least my observation over like watching worship music be created over the last 20 years or how long I've been paying attention to it. They're trying to write it simply enough so that you as a pianist can kind of learn it a little bit easier. It's not meant to be a very, very complicated style, but it also is a style where they want you to understand it's like atmospheric. It's meant to not take up a ton of space. It's meant to be really open. Like occasionally these complicated chords are actually kind of hidden into the actual parts that exist. So using Son of Suffering as an example, because I think this maybe ties in, Ray, to, this idea of like voice leading, which, correct me if I'm wrong, we're heading that direction.
Yeah.
But like on Son of Suffering's chorus, the song itself, I won't use my effects or anything on here yet, which by the way, again, all of these things are built into the keyboards that are in both the Ridge and in the Worship Center. So we'll cover that later, but like, this is the coolest part. It's all there for you, so you can sound just like this, or hopefully better than me. But Son of Suffering's chorus, the first time through, right, we do this 4 chord, but the thing is on the song, it's got a sort of a call and response that's happening between the left and the right hand. So, or,
Blood and tears.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so what's happening there, if I were to just play them in block chords, right, it would sound pretty dull, but it would go. But what's actually happening is we again are playing what's called an inversion, but it's the one chord. If I even played it 1-3-5, if we're in the key of D flat, 1-3-5, that is responding to every chord change that's happening in the chorus. So you can literally, I'll play it two ways. I'll play it the album way, and then I'll play it sort of a simplified version way, okay? And this time, why not? I'll put a little effects on there so you can see how reverb can change a song. So here's the correct way, right? That's the chorus, right? And that's how I would play it the first time through. So just so everyone knows, first time we hit the chorus, that's how I'm playing it. Simplified version, we can eliminate all the sort of middle notes. Let's use Ray's 1-5 model, okay? I'm going to start calling it the official Ray, the Ray piano way. Ray's way. Ray's piano way. And I'm going to just change my roots, okay?
Sounds better. No, I'm just kidding. It does not. It does not.
But I want to just like freeze framing, because I am not as classically trained at all as Yeshua is, and she's incredible at being able to explain what's going on. I'm better at just like in the moment of playing it a certain way, and worship is like my go-to style of music when I'm actually playing. But I want to point out, like, every voicing I'm doing is really wide and separated. It's not generally very close together, unless it's intentional dissonance or intentional, suspense, essentially, that we're trying to add to what's going on. Should I jump into voice leading?
Yeah.
So another thing about that chorus I want to point out, when we were doing the block chords, so block chords, in my opinion, they're great. They're great for when you're first learning piano. But the thing that I think a lot of beginner, novice piano players are really trying to get after to sound like an intermediate player or an advanced player exists within voice leading. Because voice leading is essentially how you get from one chord to the next with as little movement of your hands as possible. Right. And what you're going to find is that when you're doing good voice leading, it's also going to sound, it doesn't just feel smoother, it's going to sound smoother as well. So I'm going to go really slow here, but basically within Son of Suffering, instead of going from the 4 to the 1, you're going to see me drop these two fingers here down to essentially in my right hand get to the 1 chord with just moving both these fingers the slightest bit and then moving my bass note over, right? So, right? So much easier, so much smoother sounding. And even when I'm doing the little call and response part, I'm gonna freeze right there. So this is the dissonance I just created. I'm playing these two notes at the same time. Why? Because I like it. Right. So everything is really kind of moving closely from one note to the next, getting to everything as smooth as possible. You'll find that if you practice good voice leading, you will actually make a lot less mistakes. Right. Because it's simply just a matter of like distances and measurements of one note to the next. If you know you just have to move your finger a centimeter, versus moving your finger 5 inches, the chances are, especially if you're moving quickly and the music's moving fast, chances are more likely you're not going to play the wrong note, unless you're me, moving that centimeter
Right.
versus the 5 inches.
Yeah, like how I kind of get away with it. Let's go to the key of C, right?
That's how you get away with it.
I go to I get away with it by adding a capo on a minor. No.
Yeah, right.
So if you go to the key of C, like this is kind of what I will do as a home bass. On my right hand, I will do the first inversion of C, right? So that's with E, G, C. And then on my left hand, depending on what the dynamic is calling for, I'll go 1-5 or an octave. Just do 1-5. So let's say what's a common chord progression? 1-4-6, 1-4. Yeah. So how I would do a 4, right? So yeah, 1-4-6-5. It's fine. Yeah. So go 1 like that. And then now for voice leading for 4, for my right hand, all I will do is move the E to the F, right? So now I have an F sus2 chord, right? I didn't do anything except move one note with my right hand, and my left hand I gotta move to the bass, like, oh, this is following the bass. And then 6, I'm gonna go back to the 1-3-5 of C, so move that F to the E, and then go to the bass of A minor with your left hand, play that. That would be a 6 chord. And then for the 5, I want that dissonant. So I want how we were talking about the home bass is like the 1 and 5 of whatever key you're in. Even though that's not in the 5 chord, I want that sound in there. So like the dissonance that you guys both created is just go to the 5 chord with, how do I explain this? Yeah, it's like 1, 3, and 4 on the 5 chord. Like, is that how you explain it? More of like
Sure.
a teacher. Yeah. So.
Oh, ask her. I'm not
Yeah,
a teacher.
yeah.
The tonal key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like put those chords together with that motion. So 1, 4, 6, and then 5. Yeah. So like you're safe, super safe bet.
You
Yeah.
can play Coldplay that way, real easy.
Yeah, just a super safe bet, and that's just an example of like voice leading, like, hey, the small amount of motion, staying kind of in the mid range, like getting this like modern sound with like a sus2 there.
And when you said motion, can I just say really, really quick, like another, like I think very common thing for a novice or intermediate piano player in a worship setting, something I hear very often, and I struggled myself with this, is that you kind of get into a habit where you almost lock into a certain motion and then you don't change that motion. And what I mean is like, using I don't know, Son of Suffering again. If I'm doing this the whole time, right? You might in your ear not notice it, but pay really close attention to the motion you're creating, because a lot of times motion within verses, within choruses, especially if it's syncopated motion. Syncopated meaning you're not straight with the beat, right? You're not playing eighth notes, you're not playing quarter notes that are right on it. You're almost playing a triplet feel, or you're playing a dotted quarter with a eighth, tied feel. I'm trying to avoid getting too music-y here, but my point is that as a pianist and as a worship pianist, as mundane sometimes as it feels to play whole notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, the truth is that because we are also a part of the rhythm section, if we are playing rhythms that are almost
on the offbeats,
or rhythms that are not locked into the drums and bass instruments, it's actually going to feel like it's pulling the music back. Mm-hmm. And you get a lot more flamming that happens between the other instrumentalists because they're hearing your offbeats and either locking in sometimes with you or they're not locking in with you. So when I'm playing through, which we will get to this, but when I'm playing through a verse, or I choose to do a repeated pattern over and over again, or what we call in the music world an ostinato, I am only going to stick with playing, as boring as it sounds, wholes, quarters, halves, and eighth notes.
Right.
It's very uncommon that I'm going to play a ton of even fast, quick, riffy 16th note patterns, because the truth is it's not going to really cut through the mix very well anyway, unless it's a very like jazzy feeling piano special that's happening once a year at Easter.
Right. Do you have anything to add, Yeshua, about voice leading? No. Okay. Yeah. No. That's great. So one of the kind of we were just touching on playing more open voicings, to kind of, I mean, the sound of the keyboards are more like these open voicings, like these lush voices, that you kind of mentioned. I don't know if we need to really hit on that, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think the open voicing thing is just keeping in mind of where you are on the keyboard. And then again, every single open voicing you do is going to put out a different dynamic. And also how you play that open voicing with whatever sounds, a combination of sounds, is going to sound very different too. Example, if I wanted to use a ton of reverb and use a ton of pads and use an octaver and do this, right? That's a big open voicing and it's big, right? But there's a way to also do open voicings where I turn all of that off and maybe I even keep the big reverb and I'm at the end of Son of Suffering and I do something like this. Still really wide voicings. I'm just moving and shifting everything up here, which people get scared of that. Don't be scared of it. Like, it's such a beautiful register. It's just got to be done appropriately. But I think we'd all agree, like, that's a much smaller sounding, big open voicing that's still creating that space. But it still, like, regardless, even if it's, I'm thinking at the beginning of All Hail King Jesus is a really tricky opening to nail on piano, to not make sound muddy, because it's literally a piano tone that's super low range. It's typically in the key of C. But even when I'm playing that song, I'm not doing that, right? I'm not doing this either. Because even in my ears, that's still muddy sounding. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to stick with my big open voicings, root. And let me tell you what that means in my mind, how big open voicings translate to me, because I also don't want to like confuse anybody. To me, a big open voicing typically means my left hand is sticking to the roots. Unless I'm mid to higher range and I want to add more of the chord in my left hand, usually I'm sticking to roots in my left hand. I'm going super vanilla. My right hand is generally going to hit the fifth and the third, depending on where I'm landing. But if I'm playing tonic 1, it's going to play the fifth and the third. So beginning of All Hail King Jesus. Do you guys hear that? I know it's super subtle, but I'm going to do it again. So you got this, right? You hear it, it's kind of gritty, but you still don't want to play the song wrong. So the song is demanding a super low, almost compressed piano sound, right? Right?
It's like the lights went out.
It's like the lights went out.
It's like death claimed its victory.
But literally, like, this is how far my notes are from each other. Because when we get into that range, if you get things really close, it's going to sound really nasty.
Yeah.
So, big open voicings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, if you feel like you want to add anything to that, otherwise we do the doubling guitar line.
Doubling the guitar line.
Yeah, it's like-
we'll have to, like, when I study the song, then I will make my notes because my memory's not that great. So I will also I will start to listen to the whole thing instead of just isolating that the keyboard track, because I want to hear what is this sound that generally that will pop out, like that's be heard. So if it's a guitar line, sometimes I would double it, sometimes I would harmonize it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say the I Speak Jesus, if I do, right, I will do. Or I would just do.
No, yeah. So that's like kind of moving into that third part of this long sentence. It's like you like when requested, you double the lead guitar. It's funny at that language when requested, because it's most often you're actually doubling the guitar line or you're kind of adding harmony to it. But like at its most basic level, like you learn it. When do you feel like is an appropriate time to add that doubling?
Can I add something about the doubling the guitar line? So
Yeah.
I would try to double at a different range, not at the same octave. So if the guitar is doing this, if I do this, it doesn't really, for me, it doesn't add to the whole thing. So if I do, right, instead of right here. So I would do like maybe an octave
Yeah.
lower, but maybe not an octave higher.
It's all about figuring out like where that sweet spot is. Like it
Yeah.
really depends on the song. I would use an example of like being asked to or not.
Right.
I'll give an example back on Son of Suffering. So Son of Suffering, in my opinion, during like the bridge, especially when we get to the instrumental part of the bridge, has a really awesome lead line, and the line goes, like the guitar player is just ripping on it, and it sounds so awesome. But when we get to the instrumental, sometimes when we're playing that song, because I'm usually in that section of the song, bridge section of the song, I'm very big, right? But I'm not adding just tons and tons and tons of rhythm. For me, very big means I've got my octaver on, I got my pad on, I'm using this knob wheel right here, which on all the keyboards controls what's called the cutoff in the pad. What does that mean? I'll show you. So this is the pad sound right here. And if I add cutoff, it's opening it up, right? So what's cool is with this octaver, you've got multiple pads that both automatically turn on with the piano, but just the pads together. It's almost like a big Holy Spirit orchestra sound, right? By the way, where the Nord is, the Lord is.
Yeah, he says that
That's
too
just
often.
so everyone is clear. Like that's why we have 3 Nords here today. We actually
Oh
have a fourth.
gosh. Move on.
Okay, sorry. But yeah, in the actual Son of Suffering big section, usually I've got like a very big reverb sound, and I'll do like. What's the next chord?
6.
Whatever. I'm playing big chords. It's my point. But then I will sometimes elect to then go.
3.
3.
Yeah. 4.
Right? Because when I do that, and the guitarist has jumped the octave, and he's just going with all this delay and super sick stuff going on, when I'm covering the doubling of the lower end, it just sounds massive.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not an every time like occurrence.
Yeah, choosing the right moment.
It's
for
choosing the right moment. I'm not doing it the entire bridge, and that would be like an example of like a maybe. Other songs where it's like almost guaranteed is gonna be The Blood, for example. Because the guitar player is sometimes gonna be playing. Or you might be doing that, the harmony. Right? So in those songs, that's an example where maybe the piano is not as up front. It's 2 guitars that are harmonizing together on the album, but we don't have 2 lead guitar players who are going to be harmonizing the whole time. So I'm going to be making the distinction, oh, you know what? I'm going to play at least one of those lines to harmonize with the guitar player, and if he's playing one, I'm going to play the other, or if he's playing the other, I'm going to play the one. So that would be another determination for me.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, that hits on exactly what I feel like the style offers. And what's interesting is, I mean, our keyboard style is different than the CCM style because it adds more. It's more like cinematic and orchestral. Like if you were to solo any one of these songs, yeah, like that's why I play this way, the 1/5. That's literally like the track. Maybe it's a little bit
actual
more.
tracks,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit more. It's like super whole notey, but we are adding more rhythm and we're adding more melody, but we're doing it like orchestrally, like because again, like I said earlier, a lot of these records are relying on like the tracks, the synths, and all these things. I mean, it's mixed professionally, processed professionally, but like we're sort of helping create that color and that texture over the melodic lines and the rhythms. So just kind of an extra point I want to add on here, it's like enriching the melodic space. You could just add to what the vocal is doing, or sorry, double the melody of the vocal, or you could double like the guitar, you can add harmony to those things, but you can also enrich the melodic atmosphere. And how would you approach doing something like that? Yes, one.
Could you?
Yeah.
specify your
Yeah. Okay. So okay. So when we were talking about the blood a while ago, right? So there is you could play that line in the blood in the key of G for what's that? The bridge. Da, da. You can just play that plainly, right? Because that's what the track is adding, right? Yeah, there's like an octave or something like that. Just like reset. Oh, reset. Sorry. All right, we'll just do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. So like, and then we were talking about like, well, you can also add the harmony to that line, right? So you can do the main melody and then a six above of that. Yes.
So I'll just add one more finger.
Right. Just adding like another finger.
You can do the octave. You can add one more finger to the third, or you can do the top one, but not here. Sometimes, not this time.
Right.
You would have to choose. Sometimes you can switch between the top one and the bottom.
Right, yeah. And then you showed me this insane thing where you used all four of your fingers, like to, like add to that melodic space, right? So you added more harmony. So like, dude, I can't even play it. Like,
Oh yeah, it's like the whole. So it's the G chord, but then add that octave. So. Like that, and you can add to the rhythm. So if we start with a, and the next time you can, and then you can even add. So if you do versus, this is more like moving.
right.
So there are different ways to add the rhythm.
Right, yeah. Like when you're doing that, it's giving like a lot more rhythmic and melodic information. And then, we do this all the time, especially like you were talking about earlier, ostinatos, right? Like adding ostinatos to have, to enrich this like melodic atmosphere by adding rhythm. But you in the blood, like when we were playing it together, you kind of did a sort of a thing as you built up to the chorus. Da, 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 da. Then you went like da 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 da. Do you remember that?
Yeah. So, are you talking about the leading to a section or
yeah, like
the ostinato?
both.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So like you're building, the song is building, you're adding like more to it, and then when you get to the big release chorus section, you add this like ostinato to help generate the momentum that's happening in this open chorus.
Right. So if I play the blood from bridge to chorus, I will do. Are we in G? Sorry.
Yeah, whatever key you wanted to be in.
how do you say that?
Intensity or
Intensity
the
of
tension.
the rhythm.
Yeah.
So more notes in one beat. So start with one note in one beat, two notes in one beat, then four notes in one beat. Especially like the one bar before you enter the big section. Then I would do just trying to, you do add the left hand as well. So you create that tension going into anticipating the. And then in that midst, if you can, add that. So, in the split of a second, you can move your left hand there, and then you can do, so you can have an octave higher.
Right,
and
yeah.
cut into that, the ostinato.
Right, yeah, going in the ostinato. You play that stuff all the time, like, kind of talk through how you process that.
Yeah, so I use ostinatos pretty regularly. I like to use them a lot on verse twos of songs because a lot of times I feel like in worship music, for keys players, we kind of know what to do in verse one. It's kind of like you just play a whole note and then you kind of get out of the way, or you do like a little bit of something, and then chorus one comes in, you add a little bit more, but then verse two comes around and you're kind of like, crap, like what? Like, do I just go back to doing what I did in verse one? Am I keeping the same energy of verse two? How do I change it up? And so I have found personally that ostinatos work really well in a lot of songs. So like in I Speak Jesus, for example. Let me think about this. That's all right. Right, we're in the first verse, or first chorus.
Speak the name of Jesus over.
I'm doing nothing. I'm playing an A major chord and changing my roots. Maybe I'll put that to the D. And I'll just join the guitar again, right? And what I'll typically do is I'm going to use my tech that's available here. So let me put my pad back in a little bit. Get my tech stuff ready. Got a little bit more reverb. So now we're going. And then I want to keep the intensity. Octave on. Right. So, and I think in terms of how that ties into enriching the melodic space, a lot of times what I try to do is I am trying to almost catch parts of the melody with my piano. Not all of it. I'm not doubling the whole melody, right? But like, you kind of heard it on that example innately. I went straight to the, So I'm kind of catching pieces of the melody that are going to also reinforce the singer and just kind of create that, that effect. The ostinatos also work great for, I'm not sure if any of you guys have done this yet, but like there's different types of builds that are happening. So going back to the blood example, sometimes in that song, we start really small building, then we go really, really, really big, like Yashun was showing us going into the chorus. But sometimes what happens is we go into this, like almost like a driving ride.
Like a 16.
Like a 16. Yeah. What's the lyric for that section?
I can't sing. Never been about deserving, burning.
So what I'm doing during that section is I'll literally, because the bass player is literally going like playing 16th notes too, but I'm gonna go. There's no.
Affection. Let me tell you.
Bringing more pattern. Right, so like I'll drive those ostinatos during builds because I'm just gonna be honest, they sound the cleanest. They sound really satisfying when you're building with it, and everybody else can be doing this, you know. But if you're doing this, literally like, and everyone else is driving through a build, what that's doing is it's creating some melodic, almost like a soaring feeling. I don't know how to really describe it very well. It's an ostinato, obviously, but it's going somewhere. And it's taking you somewhere, and you know that it's actually building. And I think the ascending ostinatos are really great, but there are so many different types. My favorite ones to use is, so if you take, again, any key, especially like students, like this is so odd. If you start introducing ostinatos tomorrow in worship music, people are going to be like, oh my gosh, you're such an amazing keyboard player. But like the thing is, they're really not that hard at all to do. If you take any key you're in, let's use the key of C, you're going to start with, once again, the 1-5, right? You've got your C major chord, 1-3-5, and then you can put the 1 on the end. Ostinatos only exist within that tonic key when you're doing them in worship. So what I mean is, I will often do ostinatos, and I'll start on the 3, so the E, and I'll walk up 3, 4, 5, 1, 3, 4, 5, 1, 3, 4, 5, 1. I'll also do ostinatos that are 1, 2, 3, 5. I call it the aerial ostinato because I take it from Little Mermaid. Right? 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5. I also will do, I call it like a 5th and a 7th ostinato. What I mean is I go 1, 5, 1, and then I'll kind of throw the 7 in there sometimes. So you can do this all day and just walk up with roots. I mean, I'm gonna do a C scale, and it's gonna be the most epic C scale of all time. Like, there's so much stuff. You can do walk downs. Little Hamilton right there, I think. Was that it? I don't even know what I'm playing half the time. But like, my point is, you just pick a pattern and you repeat it over and over and over and over and over and over again. And most of the time, on most worship songs, it's going to work because the other players are going to be able to play around that. Right. You're not getting in the way of a lead player, because what worship music is, I think, supposed to be is very, like, you're meant to anticipate something. What makes worship music not feel right to, like, the standard listener is when things don't feel like you know what's coming next. And that translates to every player on stage. Ray knows this because I talk about this all the time with him. Having confidence on coming in on all their entrances. And that doesn't mean just like when it's a complicated part. I'm talking about like straight up whole notes. Like when you come in on a whole note and if you do this, like even if it's a small dynamic, like you still can come in confidently. And getting from one section to the next confidently is really what builds upon that confidence within the band and also translates to the congregation of here's what's coming. And ostinatos bring about that that feeling of anticipation. Like something's coming, it's very secure, it's not changing. So one thing you're not going to hear very much, other than maybe I'll move my root of the ostinato up or down to fit the chord better, like you heard me do when I was switching to like a 4 chord. You're not going to hear most of the ostinato change. I'm not going. Because it's going to feel really uncertain. It's going to feel really like, oh, where are we going? What's happening? But that straight over and over feeling gives a lot more of that anticipation and kind of helps lead the band in a certain direction of where we're supposed to be.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So choosing those in the right moments, and like having the confidence and the right dynamics. So then let's just talk about that last piece of this expectation. So you will gain an in-depth understanding of our technologies, the in-house keyboard and playback, right? So we're just going to rapid fire talk through like what we use the Nord, like the sounds. For both of these venues, we have them like Garrett made them at the most safest like presets ever. If you don't know where you're at, just like crank it all the way to the end and you're gonna be fine. You're gonna
right
be
here. If you just crank it to the end, like you're right back at the main piano sound.
Right. And then well, there are 3 presets that like we use that we find that cut really well through the mix. And one is this Italian grand piano, just this 25. You can't see it, but if you scroll all the way to the right, this is the sound.
And the sound is always going to have built in it the pad that's going to be preset at like a really nice sort of like 11 o'clock. It's not in your face, but it's also not unhearable. It's kind of just there, sustained. But the pad on all both keyboards is always going to be connected to this cutoff sound or this cutoff effect on the mod wheel. And I really think, again, like part of that sort of the ostinatos are going to help you if you're a new worship keyboard player. What's going to also level you up again is getting used to utilizing this mod wheel. Right. Because there's really only 3 things that you ever need to do on any of these 3 patches. You have the ability to control the pad in volume. So that's what this little thing does. It's controlling the pad. The reason you know this is the pad and this is not the pad is this says piano on it and it's at max volume. You never have to touch that. This says synth over here. You got a ton of knobs. Nord tries to make things easier by having everything available for you to edit literally in front of you versus digital keyboards that typically have sort of sub-menus all built in, but you've got like 4 or 5 knobs instead. Visually, those look easier, but they tend to be more complicated. But we don't make you touch any of this other stuff. The one thing is, though, your pad volume, you might elect to bring in more pad by turning it to the right. You got a little dial that's going to tell you, or turning it to the left. And the bottom line is that if you do touch anything or you want to mess with things, that's totally fine. All you got to do is turn one sort of patch over and then come right back to it, and it'll reset to the default presets. So you're not going to mess anything up. Like, I want to encourage everybody to show up early for practice and mess with this stuff. Like, this is so fun to go through and, like, hear really weird sounds. Like, just keep turning, and you can find a bunch of crap in there and have fun with it. But this is one thing you'll be turning. The other thing is an octaver effect. Also the same for both keyboards. I talked about it earlier, but down here, you've got a little button that says slot A on the top of it. Next to it, if I push that, it's slot B. If you just push these individually, nothing's going to happen other than you're going to hear a piano sounds like this, and then you're going to push this, and a piano is going to sound like this. So it's not going to do anything for you other than just make one higher up the octave or lower down the octave if you click the 2. They both have their own pads as well, both set to the mod wheel. But if you hold slot A and you push slot B, now you've got an octaver effect. And if you play really simply, which is what I recommend all keyboardists do, it's never a good idea to overplay. It's way better to start from a place of being whole notey, making your bills quarters and eighths, if you play in a simple way and you really milk the pads that you have, and again, we're going to try to get more of these big skies because they're awesome reverb sounding, but you have reverb on here too, that if you push this on button, it says reverb on the corner, but you can just push on. They're all preset, again, already to the pads, so you don't have to adjust them. There's your reverb. You have it. And if you turn this more up,
Guess what? Got more reverb.
you have more reverb, right? But again, if you mess it up, you're worried, you just turn and come back, and you're back to your preset, okay? So slot A, hold, push slot B, you get your octave verb. The last thing is the mod wheel. So those are the three things that you really only have to worry about if you're interested genuinely, which I hope everyone in here is interested genuinely in trying to kind of dive into this craft, because I really view worship as a time for us to especially as people who are giving up our time, volunteering our time to do this, like this is an act of sacrifice that we are doing, and we're literally going before the Lord and giving back the talents that he's given us. And there is nowhere in scripture where it says, hey, just like go find like the sheep you think like you need the least when you sacrifice it for me, right? Like we're called to go give our absolute best. Like in scripture, we literally have a story about a dad who's about to sacrifice his son, you know? And like, I know that's extreme, but that's how much I care about trying to bring my best on weekends. I'm going to be honest, like I have stronger weekends than others where I'm in the right mindset for that. But I really believe that like setting up the space, coming really well prepared, diving into this instrument, understanding that worship music is its own style of music and demands the same level of attention that we give any other styles of music, and knowing that the purpose it serves is to literally glorify the King of the universe. Like, all of us have probably played for other performances or been in talent shows or like have done gigs or whatever, played in bands. And we know how much preparation we're willing to do for those events because we don't want to be embarrassed with our friends. We don't want to not get paid for the gig. We don't want to, not, be embarrassed. I don't know. But like if we're bringing like our absolute best to that, but then we're looking at this and we're like, oh, I'm on the weekend again, like I know that we've like set these things in motion, but I don't have much time. Like I feel like that's a little bit of like a heart check we all need to have, myself included. But really like dive into this. It's a ton of fun to do, and you're gonna have so much more enjoyment in this process when you understand the level and the depth of like what you are able to create with this instrument.
Yeah, we try to make it simple. I mean, you try to make it simple, right? He's saying it's these three things. There's the pad.
Yeah, so there's pad,
the
piano,
mod wheel,
and the doubler. And then I'll show you you can't again see the screen. So we've got 2 piano sounds that are built in and 1 Rhodes sound. So the pianos are separated by the Rhodes. 20-5, which is all the way to the right, is your go-to like brighter sounding, bigger sounding piano sound. If you go 1 over, you've got this Rhodes sound, which on its own with no reverb sounds really nice. And if you really want to like get into like having fun with like sustains or sus chords and adding 9s, adding 7s, like the Rhodes is just buttery. It sounds so good. But if you add like a good reverb with it, or even turn the reverb on here, it just, sounds so good. Right. And like you can get away from like just feeling trapped to the piano sound, especially like in altar call times, in moments of communion, prayer moments, or even leading songs. Like you can start with, if you want a really soft dynamic, this Rhodes sound is built on both, and a great sound to like mess with. Also has a doubler if you wanted it. So so you don't have to actually switch to a piano if
Right.
you are wanting to throw it in. Also has the pad.
Yeah, so those same three elements, they're just across the three patches that we have, which
Yep.
was the Italian Grand, that first 25 one, then it was the
The
Rhodes,
Rhodes
the
20.4,
24.
and then the last one is another piano, and this is a felt piano. So really, really nice. I've been using this most of tonight because it's also paired with a doubler
Right.
that's actually the bright piano. So I like it because the combination, you can't really tell the difference, but the felt piano on its own is just really, really, really pretty. And then again, you got your doubler. Pads. And you can kill all of it, turn your pad all the way down, a good reverb on. And you got all this space you can play with.
Yeah.
I love to sometimes kill that 1.5 pad too, because our ears are so sonically trained to hear it. But when you kill it and you just have silence of the room and you've just got like a piano with good reverb on it.
Yeah, I love nerding
Chef's
out on that for sure.
kiss.
Yeah, just like a really quick summary, it's those three things: the mod wheel, the pad, and the piano sound. The doubling, well, that's four things. And the piano sound is just 23 for like that soft piano that felt, 24 for that Rhodes, and 25 for the grand piano. You'll be safe on the grand piano, but like when you listen to a song and like, hey, what's the application for this? Oh, this has like a softer piano. Like the Son of Suffering has something like that, like a softer piano. So really diving into playback, soloing, like how can I get the right tone for that? And just like you're saying, like, it's about having confidence in all of these elements. It's a lot. Like the keyboard players here hold a ton of responsibility, right? Because you also have to do playback. When someone messes up on playback, you have to be the person that troubleshoots on playback. So you're like, oh, what's going on? So learning these technologies, getting comfortable and confident with them. And I know like we're all learning that stuff together. So that's kind of the general overview that what we wanted to talk about. We just want to take like a small 5-minute break, and then there's a couple things we want to do next.
What would you define as like examples of small sounds versus big sounds, and how can I do that?
That's a good question. I think that when it comes to your actual voicing to create a small sound, I think that it really boils down to number one, like what the range is that you're going for on the piano is kind of like what's going to define how big or how small it is. But like if I'm being asked to create a small sound, my initial response, which isn't necessarily what everybody's initial response is, like that's the beauty with art. Like we all have a different way that we approach art and how we're going to handle it, right? But for me, when I hear small sound, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not gonna go necessarily massive wide. I'm gonna bring things in a little bit more. I'm gonna remove unnecessary noise. I'm gonna rely on space, and I'm gonna just play something really simple. So obviously a whole note, and I'm gonna play, a more compact voicing. So let's use C major, right? And I'm not gonna have too much added to that. That's how I'm going to define small. Sometimes I might say, hey, depending on if it's appropriate or not in the song, I might go even higher up, right? So I'm trying to think of an example of something recently, but like, let's do, so I'm purposely choosing not to put in pads. I'm purposely choosing not to bring in roots. and I'm almost using my left hand as an extension of what my right hand would have been voicing the chord as, and allowing the roots to kind of fall naturally within the voice leading, so whatever is closest. So instead of dropping right down to maybe the root position of a chord, I'm finding that having the chord be in the first or second inversion, or in other words, having the third in the bass or having the fifth in the bass, maybe is serving it better. So that's how I would just define small. When I am trying to define big, I'm thinking of my effects and my sound first, taking a sound approach, and then I'm going wide. I'm always doing octave or on. I'm always doing roots in my left hand, and I'm putting octaves in my left hand as well. Then in terms of adding to that, that's where I would put ostinatos on my right hand. So I find less is best, personally, because if I add more and more complication to it, it's actually going to translate, in my opinion, as not being as big. So right, super simple stuff, but that to me is what I would define as big versus small.
You have anything to add to that, Yeshwin? Or
Just range, and sometimes when you do big, you need more rhythm. But if you create the space, you might not need that rhythm. That's how I take from today's, because I think I'm trying to create the fullness. But sometimes, too much notes, it doesn't really create the open space. It create a little, close up, more crowded. But the effect really create the space.
Yeah.
yeah, anyone else? Any other questions? Oh, Johnny boy.
I was asking Yeshwan this a little bit about this. But when you're coming back on after the 3 songs, after the sermon, when the pastor's praying, he says, "Okay, let's pray," and it's time to come out, and you start the pad. I'm always kind of timid about it, like, because it's weird coming in the middle of the prayer, like because it takes you a few seconds to get out there, and then it takes. So how do you, either one of you, handle that? Like when you bring in the pad, and then you sometimes play part of the song, or you might improvise slightly.
So I personally have found a little cheat with the pad, because the pad on the computer, at least when you're having it in your ears, it seems very abrupt. Like sometimes you push the pad button, it's like suddenly it's like, and yeah. So something I've started doing is I'll look at what key we're in. I'll double check to make sure we're on the right song. And instead of actually hitting the pad sound like on the computer, I'll get to whatever sound I'm going to have here. I'll bring this pad volume all the way down. I'll kill the piano. I'll hit the key we're in. So from the key of C, I'm going to do that and hit sustain, and then I do this. And that's how I'll fade it in, and I feel better about that. So now what's kind of nice is that then I'll hit my piano sound. I'll pick a reverb I want, or if I'm using this, I'll just turn that on, and I'll just start playing something. So usually I'm thinking about what is going to be, like fresh wind. I think we all know fresh wind, right? Right, so we're going to get into fresh wind. So I know I need to get myself eventually prepared to naturally get to the 4, which is the first chord of that song. So I might go something like this. Let me, put a reverb on. Amen. Let's pray. I'll go 5. 1, 2, 1, and I'll pedal in a little bit while it's clicking off to make it sound more natural out there. Because out there, if we just hit this and then we hit it, there is out there this like space that's just like empty. They're not going to notice. I'm going to notice, So I'll pad a little bit. 2, ready. So that's typically what I'll do, at least for me.
Cool.
Do you do anything that I should learn from?
I'm I'm not horrible with knobs, so I only do one. So I just do the main volume, bring it down all the way, and I'll start playing, and then my left hand will start to bring the volume up. So something like that, and then just slowly. I won't go all the way up because I don't know how the sound is outside. So I just do a little bit, and then when it's time to play, I'll hit the playback, and then bring it up.
Yeah. I will say that if it's a longer prayer, or if you're like in a worship service of some sort, or that progressions that I typically will go to naturally are like 4, 5, 6, and then 1/3. So. I don't know why, it's just always been a go-to. Start over, you know. That's a go-to I'll do a lot, just because you can kill a lot of time with it, and then throw in some other inversions. And
Yeah, add to that, you can do the inversion. So it's starting from the 4, 5, 6, and then right, you can make some changes.
Yeah, second inversion. It feels good.
yeah. Yeah, Nick is, or whoever's back there is usually going to be unmuting you, and then they have typically the wherewithal to kind of sneak you in too. But that little trick I do is really like, if it's for whatever reason he has me on max and just unmuted, it's just giving me that peace of mind that
Right.
I'm still sneaking in. But, that's where, like, really good communication, depending on your ministry, you might have volunteers that are, like, in those mixing roles. And it's a good idea to, like, have those conversations ahead of time. Just say, hey, the pastor said they're going to be praying and, praying us in. I'm going to pad in that section. Are you going to have me on, or do you want me to just fade myself in and just have that conversation ahead? It doesn't hurt,
Did you want to ask your question, Julian? Yeah.
Like zoning out. What? Not because you're no.
No, I get it. It's all right. Most people feel
Been
that
a
way.
long day. I am riveted. What are some good examples of using the high part of the register? Because I've seen it used two ways. Like in Give Me Jesus is a great example of like really small and quiet. But then you can also use it as part of a very large sound. And so I'm afraid to go up there because all of a sudden it takes like kind of a moderately big sound to a very, very large sound. And I'd be interested to see how you use that. Yes.
You want to go first?
Which song are you talking about?
Any song.
Like how do you use, so sometimes I'm like stuck down here in the middle register. And I'm like, man, I really want this to be bigger, but I'm afraid to go up the octave because then all of a sudden it's like twice the size. Or sometimes I go up the octave and it sounds too shrill, and I don't know how it sounds in the mix, and so I won't like get scared, and then I go all the way back down, but that's consistent, and so I just want to know how you use it, build it into the architecture of the song.
I think when you do move up, if you move both hands up, that will be a little smaller. Yeah, if you only move your right hand up and create an octave with both hands, that will be big.
I agree with that. I think if you move everything together, it's going to be smaller within reason. But I also think that it just kind of comes back to how much or how little you're playing, right? So if you're really busy and you're playing high, there's a good chance you are not necessarily sounding shrill, but that you're likely getting in the way of vocals, lead guitar, And so that's why I think leaning on an octaver, which is built in, is a better move, because what it's going to do is it's always going to counterbalance you. So instead of like being something, you're here, and then you go up here. Right? It sounds better to me to do this. because you're getting that, you're still getting those notes up there, but you're retaining the low foundation of it, which allows you to stay big and get bigger without being shrill, because the low tones are always still going to be at a higher volume than those high tones are, but you're giving it just enough edge to cut through the mix at a higher level. It's when you abandon the low range altogether and you just are staying big up here where it becomes problematic, honestly. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Can I use a song to explain like the What a Beautiful Name? So like we have this. So the chorus before that, I think we kind of go big, right? So. So that's a smaller one. And then it repeats, right? So the second time you can do octave. So da, 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 da. So you create a little dynamic there. And then when we go further down, go to the chorus again. So that's a big chorus. So you also want to go high there, right? So from da 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 da. Okay, so you expand this way, so you create a big sound.
Yeah. Cool. If you guys don't have anything else, I'm just gonna pick on somebody to come up here. Kat, you feel ready? She's like, oh god. All right, come on. Why don't you come up here? We're gonna play the blood. You can come over here where Garrett is sitting, and we're just gonna do like a few sections of the blood. No, you're doing great. You're doing great. Can you get rid of the mic, Garrett? Yeah, perfect. You can turn it off too. So, okay, let's do this. Let's do from verse 2 and then the chorus, the interlude. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, verse 2. How does that go? I cannot explain. Yeah. Something like that. Okay, here's 2 bars into it. There's a little bit of click and guide, so that way you're not by yourself. Here, let's see. Here's verse 2.
Verse 2, 3, 4. Chorus 2, 3, 4. Interlude 2, 3, 4. Interlude 2, 3, 4.
Cool. All right, everyone, give it up for Kat. Awesome job. All right, so Garrett, Yeshwin, do you guys have any thoughts about her playing? Again, this is not a roast session.
There's plenty to roast about me. I think that was really good.
Yeah, I think that was great. Yeah.
Great job coming up here and doing that on a camera in front of everybody. So I actually think you did a really great job. I actually didn't hate the range at all of what you did. And I have some, I think, ways to even simplify what you're doing to make it even easier for you and for it to cut more. Because I think naturally, it's easy for us to want to go and have motion going with our left hand. But what we have to keep in mind when we're playing in a band setting like this is that we've got a lot of other players that are also handling motion for us. And what that allows us to do is simplify so that we almost feel like we don't have to keep up, and instead we can just focus on the rhythm that, I almost want to call it the rhythm that matters, right? And the rhythm that matters in this verse is that in our right hand, right? So our left hand, all I would have changed is instead of feeling like you need motion there, personally, I would have just left it kind of straight. And if the octaves are tough, remember you can always find a way to simplify it. You could do one hand instead. Right? For the chorus, when we got there, I also didn't hate the fact that we were trying to fill up the space with the octaves. That was perfect. All I would suggest, this kind of goes into like something I do with this song where you're complementing the melody a little bit, is I'll usually do like the first time I'll go so boring, right? But I mean, whatever. So that's the complicated way, right? Because it's still moving and it's still harmonizing on my right hand. To simplify it, what you could do is something like this. And I'm just kind of like giving you some ranges of things that would be appropriate.
Is that the Ray way? No, I'm just kidding.
Probably.
You did say that earlier.
It probably
I was
is.
just
I
kidding.
mean, it probably is. But like, it's just, I want to kind of, if anything, I'm hoping like it's helpful just to kind of see how you can simplify it even further. And you might not even feel like, oh, I'm playing it like that complicated to start with. But worship really allows you to have that space to simplify even more, where you can focus on tone and sound and the effect and like how you're filling up a space, where you don't have to do the, complementing the melody thing that I'm doing. And then the last part of it was the little turnaround. That was an opportunity where if you were sick of playing this, you had the little orchestra sound and the lead guitar part that goes. Right? It's actually even less movement, right? And if, again, the octave feels hard in your right hand, turn an octave on and do this instead. It's 3 notes. And if you want to add some, edge to it,
Yeah. Okay.
good job.
Yeah,
honestly.
good job. Do you have anything to add, Yeshwin, or just?
Yeah, I like when you do the left hand to a lower part, it really fill in the space. I personally like to plan that. So if I'm gonna use a really low one, I will plan it to happen at a big moment. Let's say, what is this chord? What's the chord that he should play?
Is
G.
G.
Okay. So da da di da. So from here, da 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 di da da. So it's still in the kind of small section. So I will go back here, da 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 di da da da. So in that section, and then probably that when this leads into that chorus, it's still kind of small. Da di da da. Even I can bring this part a little like 1 octave higher, like we just play. You also use that. Oh no, maybe that's too big. So I would just, and then so I would do when it comes to a really big one, hallelujah, the very last one, then so to create that surprise big moment.
Yeah, cool.
Build build to that dynamic.
All right, Colin, hop on there, trade with Garrett. We're going to do the same tune, The Blood. You're going to start from the interlude. Yeah, just 4 bars of the interlude into the bridge, into the bridge, into the big chorus. Whichever one you want to do. Do the normal groove, okay? The big groove, okay? So that way. So 4-bar interlude into the bridges. There are 2 of them into the big chorus. Okay.
Interlude 2, 3, 4. Bridge 2.
It's never been about performance, perfection. It's never been about deserving.
Bridge 2.
Does anybody wanna be holy, righteous? It's only by the blood. Does anybody wanna be worthy, forgiven? Here's a big chorus.
Chorus 2, 3, 4. Instrumental 2, 3, 4.
All right, give it up for Colin. Colin, everybody. All right. Let's choose like 1 or 2 things. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that was good. That was
I
great.
hate this pad.
I hate that pad. Yeah, that was super sick. I liked. I think you made a really good choice from like the start of the bridge, specifically deciding like you had a plan of where you were going to start at the bottom, sort of low end, and then slowly kind of built up from there. I think that even when you got to the chorus and you were putting in your piano fills, they were appropriate. They were in the right place. You know, you weren't getting in the way of where the melody would have been, and it was complementing the singer, like who would have been singing during that time. My suggestions are again like it's like a game of simplification. That's all I would do, you know. And like I felt like during the bridge build, again, nothing wrong with it, but you were pushing the making the choice rhythmically to push the build, right? So. Right? And that's not a problem. That's totally not an issue at all. But if you want to get into a position where you're thinking, okay, well, I want to simplify and I want to be, because I'm always thinking about, at least for me, I'm thinking about like when I'm playing with Max, for example, and I'm thinking about our straight build and what we're going to get to. I want to try as much as I can to line up the builds with what my hands are doing so that we're both hitting the most emphasized moments together, like in tandem. And so I think when you got to the point where it was towards the end of the build and now you're just going, like if I'm just doing something this simple, right? When it gets to the E minor part, as mundane and as boring as that sounds, what's going to happen is that's going to lock you really close, like really in with Max, and then get you into the chorus. And then on the chorus, you have all those options where I would, if anything, I wouldn't pull anything back. I'd be going even more and even more full. And again, what you did for the chorus was great. I think that you even have those options where in the chorus you could do an ostinato type thing if you want. You could also elect to just go really big, and I already see you're like very comfortable with the tech. One of the things, like I have like a low key hatred for some of like the synths on the Nord specifically, like the pads. Like I like the main stage stuff that I was able to do in Omnisphere stuff way more. But like using the Big Sky has helped me kind of almost fake the sounds sounding better than they are. But what's cool is like you can get to the choruses where if you work out a way where you land onto a big chorus, you can make a huge sound out of the, all the effects that are available to us. And, like you actually can almost create more out of less in a sense, if you want. But again, like I thought the chorus that you played was fantastic. I think if anything, it was like the simplification of like the bridge, which would probably just help you lock in more with the rest of the band, create that stability, and then allow the fun too of like in the event you wanted to drop four, everyone drop out on four, like it's gonna create that anticipation of like, this is coming. Or if you do the reprise again, where you wanted to do it, like it's just stability and it's simplifying it, and it would help lock in more with the drums and bass.
Yeah, it sounds really good, and then you have great tools in your toolbox. I love how you change your in range, so it creates the dynamic. Another way of approaching that, when you play the, so that accent the upbeat. So what if you add the, so that the accent aligns with the whole song, because the guitar will be playing that da 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 da, right? So if you do bum bum bum, it wouldn't feel that offset when we do the dum dum. So compared to that, it will be a little different. So just add maybe trying to align with the accent with other instrument. And I like to change, you add something like the fill-ins between the sections, like you were doing something, and I'm not sure if that's a general rule, but like in the big section, let's say da da, if we played into this section. So from here, it goes down, but we kind of want to build up. So if da da da, so the next section you will feel it leads to the dynamic going bigger. So I think it's just kind of so when I play the church music, I do a lot of the planning ahead. Like I will plan where my ranges will be. Like I will start low, and like when you do the bridges, you start low and build higher, and then like when I build into another section, if we are going into a bigger one, I will build towards a higher octave instead of going back da da da, going down versus going up. Yeah, but and you have all the tools. I think you could write those notes like, okay, this part I want to be higher, this part I want to be lower. So when you play, you're in the midst of playing, and then you just see those notes. Okay, I know I need to move higher. That's what I do with all my notes, because I can't remember.
Cool, Phoebe. All right, yeah, why don't you swap out with Garrett? Let's do What a Beautiful Name. We'll do the second chorus into the instrumentals. Let's see. So, what a beautiful name it is. It's a little bigger than you anticipate. Watch, let me just play it so that way.
Chorus 2.
You don't have to start playing, you can just listen.
4.
What a beautiful name it is. So that's kind of the dynamic. Like, you got more of a heads up than anyone else, so. All right, here, 2 bars into that. Let's see. Let me know when you're ready. Awesome. 1, 2, chorus.
2,
What a
3,
beautiful name.
4. Tag 2, 3, 4. Instrumental 2, 3, 4. Instrumental 2, 3, 4. Bridge 2, 3, 4.
All good, yeah. Cool. Awesome job. Let's give you a round of applause.
All right, sweet. Good stuff. All right, I think on the chorus, first thing I would say was great. Like, honestly, where you are in the range was perfect. I think that from my perspective on these choruses, I think a good exercise to work on is thinking about what we talked about today with that sort of the Ray approach with the 1 and 5 on the just throughout the chorus to kind of put it throughout your chord progressions, because you're going to find that it's going to help you get from one chord to the next without feeling as boxy, and frankly make it even less complicated for yourself to go from right versus, you know. And it could be as simple as like practicing the exercise of just doing 1 and 5 while you're changing chords throughout. That's also a good song on that chorus for that the reprise of that chorus, since it's going to be the second time through, of learning that guitar line. Because the guitar line is kind of just... and you're just adding roots to that. So that could be some way to kind of make it a little bit more feel like it's kind of taking a step up dynamically for that section. But I would say the best approach probably that will help you get from the box chord piece of where you're at right now to kind of feeling a little bit more smooth in your transitions from chord to chord will be utilizing that 1-5 and just see how many times you can transition chords with changing as little with your right hand as possible. I think that's actually a really good exercise for all of you guys to practice. Like, next time you guys approach a chorus, see how you can play at least that first chorus where it's just mostly piano led, how you can play through the chorus without moving your right hand as much as possible. It's just a great exercise because it's going to force you to see all the different cool inversions you can do, and also having fun with adding those little notes of dissonance. When you got to the bridge, you played through the chords, and that's great. Just keeping in mind that, you know, obviously when you're playing through an instrumental that's going to feature piano, you've got a really cool opportunity to kind of set the stage on where you want to start dynamically from the beginning and where you want to go. So if you're starting, you know, to me, I hear, okay, we are at a mezzo forte, right, dynamic. So if we know that fortissimo is where in other words, in music terms, the loudest we can go without sounding just like noise, right? Like if we know that like that's now our range, it kind of limits us a little bit into where we can grow dynamically. So again, this is kind of one of those like novice to intermediate, intermediate to advanced level skills where you start to get comfortable with less. And it's hard to be comfortable with less. I think one of the hardest things worship teams struggle with is playing at a very low volume dynamically because everything's exposed. You play the one wrong note and the wrong low. I mean, I got stories I can tell you guys about encounters where I've done that plenty of times. But in this particular song, when we get to the bridge that starts out of what is a big chorus that drops out a little bit, I'm stripping everything as much as I can, and I'm just going to do maybe an octave of the roots and doing the little melody. Because from here, I can add, I'm going to skip ahead, but this is like maybe first time with the vocals. I'm going to speed through it, but maybe second time through, and now I'm adding a pad. I'm going to add the fifth in there. And then last time, going to keep building on that until I get to the last, whatever it is. There's my ostinato, right? Like I simplify the crud out of these songs, but it makes it so that they're nice and spacious, and I can add all these effects to make it sound bigger than it is. So that's my suggestion.
Yeah, great job. I would like to offer some formula. You start with the chorus. That's the second time, like more of a bigger chorus, right? So I think we can do, like I would do, I have my notes there, is putting the eighth notes. So we talk about the Ray style, 1 and 5.
I don't like it.
Right?
I don't like it.
I would just add that 2. So you can still keep that, but you can change to the 7. Just keep switching to those, and that will give you the chorus. And also want to tag along that Garrett said about the chord when you move. So talking about the inversions, the other way is to look for the common notes. Let's say from if I do that's the instrumental. If I start with a G there, sorry, that's a different key. The next chord, I still keep this one, and then still there. So that common note I would choose is probably, the easiest one is to choose either 5 or 1. Mm-hmm. It won't go wrong.
Yeah,
I think in
an
music
anchor
terms it's
note,
called
right?
a pedal tone.
Yeah, pedal tone.
So it's just holding throughout, and with the 1 and 5, you're basically going to be safe.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're 7 minutes over, I can keep going all night, but everyone is busy and stuff like that. So, how do you guys feel? You guys feel good out there?
Good?
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, next time, Evan. Yeah, next time. Cool. Well, yeah, if you want to stay and play. Yeah. Great. All right, well, thank you guys for coming. Please have a wonderful night.
Yeah.
Send us. I don't know what I'm gonna say. All right, we love you. Good night.
Flowers.
Send us flowers. Right.
Yeah.